Ted, what's going on, man?
Not much, living the dream.
I hear you, man. All right, we're on the road with Coach D, and today we're going to talk about you and your upcoming fight. You're going to be fighting in February, so we're looking forward to that. But now we give a chance for the fans to know who you are, what you do, and how you got into the sport of MMA. So tell the fans your full name and tell them what gym you work out of.
My name is Tanner Saraceno. I fight out of Revolution Martial Arts Performance Fitness right there in Inman, South Carolina. And originally I'm from New York. I came down south. I went to school at Limestone College. Got my bachelor's there and wrestled for 2 years. And then while I was there, I met up with Sarah McMahon. She was, part of the team, and she brought me to Revolution, and I got hooked ever since. And I found out you can get paid to beat people up for a living. I was like, there's not really much better than that. So after college, I kind of put everything I had towards that.
Okay. So it got into your blood. You felt that you get punched somebody in the face. So what's the life of being a fighter? A lot of us as fans, we watch it on the outside, we watch it on our TVs in the comfort of our own homes. But a lot of people don't understand what it takes to be a fighter. We only see the glamour side. What's the life of a fighter like for you?
It's a tough life. There's definitely a lot of sacrifice that goes with it. When I started out fighting after college, when I was in college, I worked full-time, went to school, and wrestled. So I didn't really have much of a life. It was pretty much everything was for a point. I had to do something to eat, to live, When I got out of school, kind of got a little bit busier. I thought I'd have more time, but I started working full-time doing tree work during the day, and then I'd go straight to practice at night. So a lot of times, I was working 10, 12-hour days, and I'd have to go straight to the gym. And it's a rough life, especially on your body. So you have to put everything into it. You got to make sure you're eating right and training right. And you can't go half training for a fight and expect to get the results you want. I want arrogant results out of what I'm doing, some would say. So, I put everything I have, and I've set myself up to be in a position where I can now fully just be MMA. And, I started my own business, and that's helped me out tremendously to be able to set up my schedule to go train if I want, to do 2 or 3 days. If I have that open schedule on my work, I can do that now based on what I've set up for myself.
Okay. So now you're fully in the fight game. What's your current record?
5-2.
Okay. So as a fighter, do you feel you cleaned out your division and you're ready for that top tier competition? Where do you see you're at in your career right now?
I see the biggest problem for myself is, myself and my focus. If I'm not focused on a fight, that's where I've ever had my difficulties, is from myself not being fully focused in a fight. If I'm fully prepared and fully focused, I don't see anyone, getting in the way and stopping me from doing what I want to do. So now that I have that focus and I've got that ability to put everything I have into it, I'm set up to take out anyone that's in front of me.
Okay. Now, do you see anybody in front of you, or you think you're at the top of the heap right now?
Yeah, I always like to think I'm in top tier competition. I roll with some high level guys. I spar with some high level guys. I know where I stand, going with the best of the best, and I know I can beat the best of the best. So I certainly don't want to say I'm above everyone else, but I have a different approach to fighting, and I have a different animal inside of me that I bring out. That someone may be better than me technically, they may be faster, stronger, but I bring something out inside of me that it doesn't matter what they have. I beat it.
Okay. Let's talk about let's talk about your first fight first. When your first fight you ever did as MMA, how were you feeling, and what kind of went through your head when you were getting ready for that fight?
That was a nerve-wracking fight. My first fight was in a big warehouse, the TD Convention Center, and it was at 185 against, I can't remember the guy's name, but all the emotions and nerves and everything that go with it, much different than when I competed in wrestling. Wrestling, you get that adrenaline, but you don't know who you're going up against. There's tons of other matches going around most of the time for tournaments and stuff, so eyes aren't all on you, but when you step in that cage, it's you and one other person, and that's what everyone in that arena is looking at. So you've got sometimes 200 people up to 20,000 people looking at you, and it's a whole different feeling. And that night couldn't have gone any better. I was extra nervous going into it. I actually hyperextended my elbow a week before the fight at a jiu-jitsu tournament, so I kind of went in there with 1.5 arms. I didn't have full function in my right arm. So I was able to get him down, which everyone knew I was going to do, being a college wrestler. And then once I landed that first hard hit on his head, it was a new feeling that took over. I'd never experienced wrestling or football, anything I've ever done. Once you punch a man in the face and you feel him go limp, it's a very addicting feeling.
I know that's right. Hey, I'm with you on that. Now, granted, I ain't a fighter, but I watch people get hit.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: you know how they say style makes fights? What is there one fight that you can remember that kind of put you on the map? You know, say you won plenty of fights, you got a great fight record. What was that one fight where you heard the crowd, you heard social media go crazy? What's that one fight that you can remember to go, that was the fight that made me?
It's tough to say. Every fight kind of does something for you, but probably I'd say my best performance was against, I can't even pronounce his name still to this day, Muda Al-Khatib, something along those lines. I don't want to butcher it too bad. But, I mean, that's just the best I've ever felt on my feet. And being a grappler, I'll grapple with anyone all day long. Striking, it's a different feeling, knowing the guy can punch you in the face as opposed to just grabbing a hold of you. So that was probably my best performance, where I had my head movement was on point. I was landing shots at range, bobbing, weaving. I wasn't getting touched. I was dropping hellacious elbows, opened him up really good, swelled his face up, and just bouncing his head off the mats. And that was probably the fight for me that was just like, wow, I've got some skills and I can do this for a living.
Okay. So now, you're already rocking the 864, Fighting Champion t-shirt. So you're part of a new promotion on the scene. How has it been with 864 at this point?
So far it's been pretty good. They're handling themselves professionally. They're in line to do some pretty awesome things. So I'm currently in contract with another promotion, so I can't, fully diverge into 864 until I fulfill that contract and work something out. But I mean, what they have, they're paving the road for is looking real good for the future.
Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, you have a fight coming up in February?
Yes, sir. February 16th.
So you're fully blown into camp. How's your weight cutting coming
Absolutely.
along? Where you at right now?
Weight's fine. Weight's never really an issue for me. I tend to float within a certain range, and I stay under 190 typically. Eating good, not super, super clean and lean. But my weight's never a problem there. I feel great. I feel in shape. I'm actually heading out of town in 2 days, going up to Rufisport in Milwaukee. Do 2 weeks. They got some really solid welterweights and middleweights up there, Bellator, UFC, LFA. They've got some high-level guys, world champions that are there. So it's going to be a great training camp there. I've been there once before, loved it, and I'll be going back to get some extra good goes in.
Okay, is that typical? So you'll have a multi-camp training, getting ready for a fight. So you do more than one camp.
It's not typical necessarily. With my business, I'm self-employed, so I kind of make my own schedule. I fortunately am kind of in a slow season after a busy season, so I've got enough money set aside where I can get through this, go take 2 weeks, do what I have to do, and I'm actually using my skill. I do tree work.
Okay.
And someone I'm staying with there needs some tree work done, so I'm going to be doing some tree work for him to kind of pay for my stay there and help him out, help me out. He's a fighter up there. So it works out great where I can kind of do that and extend my money, I'm not, living lavishly. I'm not as poor as I once was, so I'm starting to work my way up, and this camp is going to be great because I have that chance in a slow season where I don't really have to worry so much about my business being overwhelming with job, and then I got to train, and I got to work, and then I got to fight and all that. So this is a good kind of slow period where I can get this extra training camp in and really take off.
Okay. So now that you're at this level in the game, and you're working your way up toward the big shows, a fighter coming up like you did, what's some of the advice would you want to give an up and coming fighter at this stage of the game in 2018?
Just close your eyes and keep going for it. Everyone fights for some specific reason. Some for family, some for money, some for fame. Whatever it is that you're seeing in your head that you want, just close your eyes and keep picturing that. I kind of think of the whole fight game as just a very, very big obstacle. And if you think your goal is at the top of a mountain and it might start out nice and just a gradual walk, and then you may get to an incline where you're having to literally dig your fingers in the mud and crawl up that mountain. Is it worth it to get to the top of that mountain? Will you keep going, or are you going to try and find that little path that's just a nice, easy walk? And that's what I do. I mean, I try and find the hardest way possible and get through that. Because you get through those, the rest of your life is easy. Everything will fall into place. It'll take care of itself. And you go through that hardest spot, your fight's going to be easy. Okay. Your fight will be the walk up the hill.
Gotcha. Now, all the fighters, their goal is to get to the big dance, go to the big shows, and you know how we say it. So, how far out, how many fights do you see yourself before you will say get the call to go to the big dance? What do you see for your next up and coming fights?
So that's kind of where I think I differentiate from a lot of other fighters. Their goal is to make it to the UFC or the Bellator or maybe offshore big promotions. That's not my goal. That's a minimum goal on the way. That's kind of something I've just put in my head. That's happening no matter what. The reason I said earlier I have kind of an arrogance about me is I don't want to just make it to the UFC. That's not really an accomplishment. Anyone can do that. If you set your time aside, you can get there with some hard work. My goal is to become a legend in the sport and to really leave an impact on the sport and change it in a way that some people can't even think of doing. So that's my goal. As far as a timeline to get there, I'd like to get there this year. I know I have the talent to compete with fighters in the UFC or the Bellator, the big promotions. So it's just a matter of time, really. Just keep racking up the W's and working my way there. And, promotions like this, and they're great stepping stones to get there. They really help build fighters up and help us showcase what we can do and give us the step in the right direction.
Okay. Let's go with what you just said. What is your vision of a legend of the sport? Now, we see, we have the current greatness in guys like Conor McGregor, who is transcendent when it comes to making money. And then you have the legends of the sports of George St. Pierre, who beat everybody in the game, and that legacy, Randy Couture legacy, BJ Penn legacy. What kind of legacy do you consider yourself? What are you going for?
So what I'm going for is not necessarily just to be a great competitor in the sport. As far as I think a lot of people take this sport as a sport, where a lot of fighters will go out there and try and outpoint someone that they think may be better than them, but they think they can outpoint them. I'm not going to outpoint someone. I'm going to finish fights. I'm going to end fights. I'm not going to just survive or just get through this fight and win by points and then move on to the next one. I want to finish every fight I go into. And that's how I fight. I fight at a pace that's I'm going to get finished or I'm going to finish you. And typically I end up finishing someone. So when I look back on everything, I just want to look at the dude that he went out there and he finished fights and he was a fighter. He's not a point fighter. He's not going to just win. He's not going to just make money. All that stuff will happen if you go out there and you finish fights and use that ability and that scene to make a difference. Help people out that may be struggling. I hear all the time people think they can't chase their dream because I don't have the money for it, or I don't have the resources, and I think that's just a load of bullshit. It's just you making an excuse for yourself. If you want something bad enough, you'll find a way to make it work. And I've been there. I've been poor. I've slept on a hardwood floor. I didn't heat my house for a full year, other than a little wood stove, just because I wanted to save money so I can go train. I can go afford gas to get to the gym. I've been poor before, and I worked my ass off to get where I am. And I want to help show people that they can do it, and eventually create my own team and my own gym and my own empire. Way later down the line, but I want to set myself up and show people that with just simple hard work, you don't need the talent, you don't need natural skill, just hard work will get you where you want to go.
Okay. Well, like I said, we're in 2018, and I consider this the entertainment era. So I'm gonna ask you this straight question: Are you in the MMA sport, or are you in the MMA entertainment?
I'm in the sport. It's hard to say that it's not entertainment and it's just sport. There's a hard line to differentiate depending on who you're looking at. Some people love, like Conor McGregor, for instance, they love that man can talk some shit. And then they love it. He'll get a crowd fired up and he'll get people moving. People also love when you see someone's head get knocked off. And that's what I go for. I'm not one to just go out and talk shit. It's talking junk about someone. It's not necessarily for me. That being said, I don't back down from a confrontation. So if someone feels the need that's going to help them win, go for it. That's not going to stop me from taking their head off. Okay. And that is what's going to be entertaining. When I take someone from one side of the cage and I beat him to the other side of the cage and throw him down, and pick him up, and do all that stuff, that's entertainment, and that is sport. Okay.
All right, we're going to bring to a close a little bit. This is your time to talk to your friends and family. Tell the world what you want everybody to know about Tanner.
I'd just like to thank everyone that's ever been involved in my career. From when I started wrestling to I'd have other families, they'd pick me up for practices when my parents were at work, and they'd help take me home, and small sponsors here and there. Small sponsor giving me $100 here or $100 there. I don't think they truly understand what that does for a fighter, on the way up. It's not just $100 that maybe gets you some gas or something. It's the feeling that you get of wanting that person to represent you. So if someone gives me a product and asks to sponsor me, or gives me money and asks me to sponsor them, it's not just, hey, we think you're kind of cool, we want you to have this product and help us, boost us. It's they're putting their name and everything they've worked for and what they've gone through and put that on you, and that's a fulfillment kind of in itself, you know. And I've got plans, you know, to really make that a little bit better and really up what sponsorship stuff is. But just thanks to all of the family that's helped me, because a lot of people, once they get close to me, they realize what I'm putting into this. I'm not just another Joe Blow fighter who's working a 9 to 5 and then kind of fighting for a hobby. I've set my life up from leaving high school, the decisions I made for college that have set me back with student loans. I made all those decisions knowing it's going to suck to get to the point of where it's going to be awesome. And once I get to that point of how awesome it's going to be, society's not going to want me to have money. They're not going to want me to succeed, because I'm going to do some stupid things to help people out. And some people are going to think I'm crazy, and I'm going to do some things to treat myself, because I know what I've gone through. I know what I've sacrificed, you know, and I will get there one day, and it's just a matter of time of when.
All right, fight fans, you heard it. We're talking to Tanner. He's getting ready for his up-and-coming fight in February. He's excited. You see, he's a man of many words. And he says he's going to make it to the top game, and he's going to be a legend in doing it. So once again, this is Coach D on the road, talking to the best fighters, looking for the best fights. Until you see me again, peace out.